who's the worst celebrity like that you've been around is like the most full of sin? I know no sin is greater, but like just was like, damn,
Clive Davis. Devil incarnate. Clive Davis. He Janis Joplin. He blackmailed Betty Wright so she wouldn't tell anybody that he Janis Joplin. He killed Whitney Houston.
Now, Clive Davis is someone that's been in the music industry longer than Diddy and Jay-Z. He was actually Diddy's mentor. So this is where you can say Diddy gained all of his ways from and his behavior and his way of thinking. So in this video right here, we're going to look at Kanye West exposing Clive Davis on how he's much worse than Diddy. Let's see what's going on.
I should have learned with Hov. Y'all dealing with a different kind of animal here.
And his mentor was
Andre Well.
Tell us how
who
was
was
he
mentored by Clive Davis.
I don't know what could motivate a person to have a party in a building where the person whose life he had influenced.
If you've ever pondered how Diddy ended up being so shady with all the stories swirling around about him, well, it seems we might finally have an answer to that, because Kanye West might have just dropped a bombshell on us. Word on the street is that Clive Davis, the music industry bigwig, might be the puppet master behind Diddy's villainous behavior. It's rumored that Davis schooled Diddy on the art of manipulation, how to use people, exploit them for their talents and bodies, and then toss them aside once they've served their purpose or stopped making bank. If these whispers hold any truth, then Clive Davis could be even more twisted than Diddy himself. And considering the laundry
That might be exactly what Clive Davis did to Diddy.
List of accusations against Diddy, that's saying something. So folks, grab your popcorn because we're about to unravel one heck of a scandal. Let's start with the long-standing conspiracy swirling around Whitney Houston's tragic passing. Kanye recently spoke about how Hollywood elites will often stage a celebrity death to make it look like they unalive themselves. And fans are now saying that this is exactly what happened to Whitney.
You're out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that.
See, just hours after Whitney was discovered in her hotel room bathtub, her longtime mentor Clive Davis held a pre-Grammy party in the same hotel, and he allegedly knew that Whitney's body was still in the building. It's been 11 years since Whitney Houston, one of the greatest, if not the greatest singers of all time, passed away, and Whitney's fans are still hoping the real truth of her death will come out one day. See, there are so many different conspiracy theories about Whitney's final days, but the most popular one involves Whitney's mentor and record producer Clive Davis. After Kanye West recently exposed the dark side of the music industry and claimed that Hollywood executives had built a system to traumatize and monetize celebs, Whitney Houston's fans reignited the conversation about Clive Davis's infamous 2012 pre-Grammy party, and most of them are even saying that Clive was somehow involved in Whitney's death. To give you some context, Whitney Houston died on February 11th, 2012, on the same day she was supposed to perform at Clive's pre-Grammy Awards party at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills. But just hours before the scheduled party, Whitney's assistant discovered Whitney lying face down in a bathtub filled with water. Whitney was unresponsive, and her assistant called Whitney's bodyguard Ray Watson to help her get Whitney out of the tub. Ray later told the Mirror that the scene in the bathroom was surreal, and he panicked because he couldn't understand what happened to Whitney. "I couldn't tell if she was alive or dead," Ray said. "I got her out of the water and tried to revive her. Then it was all crazy." Whitney's assistant and her bodyguard called 911, and the paramedics arrived at Whitney's hotel room at 3:30 p.m. They performed CPR, but sadly it was too late, and at 3:55 p.m., Whitney Houston was pronounced dead.
We have breaking news tonight out of Los Angeles, the death of singing star Whitney Houston at the age of 48.
Now, the cause of why Whitney died wasn't immediately known, and the local police said that there were no obvious signs of intent. However, after conducting an autopsy and running toxicology tests, the LA County Coroner's Office concluded that Whitney's death was caused by drowning, combined with the effects of heart disease and use. And though the autopsy report noted external trauma on Whitney's body, the coroner ruled that there were no signs of foul play. However, Whitney's fans felt that there was something suspicious about the whole thing, and the speculation reached a boiling point after it was revealed that Clive Davis decided to go through with his pre-Grammy party at the Beverly Hilton after he learned learned Whitney died. Now just think about this for a second. The Whitney Houston died, and her longtime mentor and other celebs were totally fine dancing and having fun while Whitney's body was above the banquet room. As for Clive, he claimed that he wanted to pay tribute to Whitney because that's what she would have wanted, and he insisted that Whitney's family didn't ask him to cancel the party.
Why did you let the party go on?
Of course, this is a personal thing, but the Grammys were the next night. You don't cancel. You turn an evening into a tribute to...
Did you give a thought to canceling?
Never.
You never thought?
Never.
Did you ever think...
And the family did not want me to give a thought to cancel. No.
However, several Whitney's friends and family have since come forward to say that Clive disrespected Whitney by partying at the same hotel where she died just hours before. In fact, Whitney's longtime friend Chaka Khan said Clive's decision to go through with the party was insanity, and it was actually the opposite of what Whitney would have wanted.
And knowing Whitney, I don't believe that she would have said, the show must go on. She's the kind of woman that would say, stop everything.
Chaka Khan also criticized Clive for saying that the party was a tribute to Whitney because it simply made no sense that someone who supposedly loved and cared about Whitney would have the strength to party hours after she died. Besides that, there have also been speculation that Whitney was beaten before she died. And though the official autopsy report made no mention of this...
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, just having the strength and enthusiasm to party right when you get the news... That's like unheard of.
Several industry insiders, including Jaguar Wright, claim that Whitney's family saw her body was beaten.
They saw her body. She didn't just die in a tub, like she was beat up.
And then on top of all that, a clip recently resurfaced on social media that shows just 2 days before Whitney's passing, she crashes an interview with Brandy and Clive Davis. She hands Brandy a secret note and nobody knows what was written on it. Rumor has it was a warning to Brandy about Clive, but the contents remain a mystery. And then what's also incredibly disturbing is just 3 years after Whitney died, her only child, Bobby Christina, also passed away in the same manner as Whitney. On January 31st, 2015, Bobby's former fiancé Nick Gordon and another friend found Bobby face down in a bathtub in her home in Georgia. Bobby was still alive and breathing when the paramedics arrived, and doctors placed her in an induced coma. However, after being in a coma for nearly 6 months, Bobby Christina died on July 26, 2015 at the age of 22. The initial autopsy found no obvious underlying cause of death and no significant injuries. However, it was later determined that the underlying cause of death was immersion associated with intoxication, but the manner of death could not be confirmed, and the autopsy report stated that the medical examiner was not able to determine whether the death was due to intentional or accidental causes. And then, in July 2020, Nick Gordon, Bobby's former fiancé who discovered her body, also died of a suspected OD. Bobby Christina's dad, Bobby Brown, later claimed that Nick was involved in both Whitney and Bobby Christina's deaths by supplying them with. However, fans still dismiss these claims.
I'm not gonna lie, this just doesn't seem right at all whatsoever.
Pointing out that Bobby was probably trying to deflect from the fact that he was the one who introduced to Whitney. Fans are also saying that Whitney's substance use and the way she obtained those substances is beside the point. And we need to look at the bigger picture and the people who profited from her death. Of course, fans are now pointing the finger at Clive Davis, and some of them are even saying that Clive's pre-Grammy party was a blood ritual. So if these people profited from Whitney's work, what would they have to gain from her being dead? Well, when we're talking about huge stars like Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, and Prince, they're actually worth more dead than alive, because when someone big like that dies, their catalog instantly starts doing crazy numbers. Also, the celebs can never challenge the labels and others involved for the full control of their music. Now, when it comes to Clive Davis, as of February 2024, he has a net worth of $900 million, which makes him one of the richest men in the music industry. Now, to be clear, Clive didn't earn all his money after Whitney died. He's been building his fortune for a very long time. However, Whitney's fans are still convinced that Clive is somehow involved with Whitney's death, and they're saying that this is exactly what Kanye warned us about. Now shift the spotlight to Diddy, and it's like deja vu. Artists and people around him tend to pass away mysteriously, just like we saw with Biggie, Kim Porter, and the whole alleged Tupac situation. Let's check out some examples. Jaguar Wright dropped some bombshell thoughts about Biggie's death, hinting it might not have been a random tragedy, but a strategic move by Diddy and Bad Boy Records. According to her, Puffy's been cashing in on Biggie's name longer than the dude was even alive. Imagine that. Biggie hadn't even hit 25, and it's been over 25 years since he passed, with Puffy still raking it in. She says, Puffy has been making money off of Biggie's name for longer than Biggie was alive. People keep forgetting he hadn't turned 25 yet. He was still 24 when he died. It's been over 25 years. Effing Puffy has been making money on that boy's name longer than he lived. It supported all of Bad Boy. His catalog, clearly a Biggie's small verse, is very valuable.
Puffy has been making money off of Biggie's name for longer than Biggie was alive. People keep forgetting he hadn't turned 25 yet. He was still 24 when he died.
Wright's got
this just makes me think about all the young artists that have passed. We got Juice WRLD, that was an alleged overdose. Then we have Pop Smoke, that he was supposedly shot by one of his ops in like Beverly Hills, and like so many other artists that have like passed away. King Von, the rapper from the Migos, just so many. And then it's like the record labels are capitalizing from that. Were they setups? Most likely.
Questions about The Commission, an album Biggie was working on before he passed. She vents The Commission. What happened to that album? It was recorded. It was being mixed and mastered upon Biggie's death. It was supposed to have come out that summer after Biggie's album because Biggie's album was slated. He died a week and a half before his album came out. Then The Commission was supposed to come out, and that was supposed to be his exit from Bad Boy and then starting his own company.
It was recorded. It was being mixed and mastered upon Biggie's death. It was supposed to have came out that summer after Biggie's album because Biggie's album was slated. Now, then The Commission was supposed to come out, and that was supposed to be his exit from Bad Boy and then starting his own company.
Now here's where it gets kind of creepy. Wright throws in an eerie twist by mentioning the spooky number of deaths tied to Diddy, especially back in the Uptown Records days. She said, I was thinking to myself the other day, Uptown Records started with 5 people. Andre Harrell, Al B. Sure, Heavy D, Puffy, and Kim was the longest employee. She was there from the very beginning. She was Andre's personal assistant. Kim is dead. Heavy D is dead. Andre Harrell is dead. The only 2 left are Puffy and Al almost died. Ain't that interesting? She continued saying, you want to know what they all had in common though? The survivors and late of Uptown Records, they were all writing tell-all books. Andre was writing a book just before he died. Heavy D was working on a book before he died. Kim Porter was working on a book before she died. And Al B was working on a documentary of his life. And then he goes into a coma.
Andre Harrell is dead. The only 2 left are Puffy and Al almost died. Isn't that interesting? You want to know what they all had in common though? The survivors and the late of Uptown Records, they were all writing tell-all books.
She wonders, saying, has Puffy ever been in a coma? Has anything happened to him? He must be the luckiest mother F because it seems that everybody that worked at Uptown Records from the Get's beginning are gone. Just him remaining.
Anything happened to him? He must be the luckiest because it seems like everybody that worked at Uptown Records from the very beginning.
Also, let's rewind to 1991 in a Harlem basement gym where a serious tragedy went down. Diddy, still a small-time promoter, organized a basketball charity event that turned into a nightmare. Picture this. An insane stampede broke out because a massive crowd wanted to catch a glimpse of celebs like Boyz II Men and Heavy D playing in the game. By the end of the day, on December 28, 1991, 9 people were dead and at least 29 others were injured. The gym was packed with over 3,000 people, way more than it could handle. Rumors even started swirling that Diddy might have sacrificed them for wealth and fame. Gene Deal, who used to work security for Diddy, warned him about the chaos. People needed to clear the entrance, but Diddy just didn't care.
If they don't do a boxing one outside and get these kids off the door, somebody gonna die tonight. He said, Gene, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
There were 2 lines, one for those with advance tickets
Sounds like
and
a similar instance like what happened at the Travis Scott concert.
Another for those buying at the door. The slow process got on everyone's nerves. Fights broke out, and when the doors finally closed, all hell broke loose. The crowd outside rushed in, causing chaos. People shoved, windows broke, and it turned into a disaster. A survivor named Jonas described her trauma, talking about how she got shoved through a glass window with people piling on top of her. It was crazy. She couldn't even catch a breath. How we survived is myself and my 2 friends. We got into a bathroom stall, Jones explains. There were literally people that were laying on the ground, and the 3 of us got into a bathroom stall, and we hid in the bathroom until everything died down. Before leaving for the event, Jones says she'd stuck a tangerine in the pocket of her leather jacket, meaning to eat it beforehand, but never got the chance. When we finally got out of there, I reached into my pocket and there was nothing left but the skin of the tangerine, she recalls. It stained my lovely jacket, and I kept that jacket for years as a reminder. Meanwhile, down at the bottom of the stairs, the person checking tickets saw things getting wild as folks tried to push inside. Instead of helping out, they got up, went inside, and shut the door, which only opened outward. Now, imagine. How did he convince Clive to bankroll his record label? It's not like Clive was super confident about Bad Boy Records making it big. He admitted it himself. In an interview, he spilled the beans, saying Diddy basically pressured him, claiming that hip-hop was going to take over the top 40. Sounds unlikely, right? But Diddy played him some Craig Mack and Notorious big tracks when they were still under the radar, and Clive saw the music landscape shifting. He said, Sean Combs convinced me that top 40 was going to embrace hip-hop. It seemed so unlikely then, but when he played me Craig Mack's Flava in Your Ear and Notorious big material when he was totally unknown, this 22-year-old guy was seeing how music was changing. Bad Boy Records was Diddy's dream. Not exactly Clive's cup of tea, but Clive still threw in the cash. Now, with all the new info spilling out, it seems we're finally getting some answers. Jaguar Wright recently dropped a bombshell. She's claiming Diddy allegedly was R-worded and S-A'd by his mentor, Andre Harrell, the Uptown Records starter. And she's saying Andre himself was allegedly S-A'd by Clive Davis. She said, my focus right now is Sean Combs. He is a SEXTFK, and he is using music and entertainment to SEXTFK. She continued saying, from what I've heard and from sources I would consider reliable, it really doesn't matter if it's boys or girls. I don't think SEX has anything to do with gender at this point for Sean. I honestly think that he's just an extreme narcissist who loves power. He loves the ability to manipulate and control people. Why? Most probably because he was victimized by his mentor who loved to control people, and his mentor was Andre Harrell, who was mentored by Clive Davis.
Okay, tell us why. Tell us why.
Because he's a and he's using music and entertainment to say who loves power. He loves the ability to manipulate and control people. Why? Most likely because he was victimized by his mentor.
She continued saying, I'm telling you, I don't know what happened between Andre and Clive. What I do know is that Andre got passed over. Like, how do you go from being the president of Uptown and losing your entire company to your intern? Like, Puff started out as an intern. The plot thickens because the numbers just isn't adding up. Diddy's always been giving props to Clive, even in 2019 after snagging the Grammy Icon Award. He was like, Clive Davis and Arista Records gave me a chance when I was starting Bad Boy Records. He was one of the first industry executive to really believe in me. I'm forever grateful for him. But here's the thing. If the latest buzz is on point, Clive didn't fund Bad Boy and sideline Andre just because he believed in Diddy's talent. Nope, it might have been because there was some secret business happening between Clive and Diddy. Also, Clive Davis himself has had some SA allegations tossed his way, and he's come out as bi too. After a couple of marriages and divorces, Clive went on a journey of self-discovery, digging into his attraction to men. In a pretty brave move, he spilled the beans about not being strictly hetero, even though he thought he was for the first 50 years of his life.
It was just something that whether you could be attracted to the person regardless of gender.
After this revelation, Clive decided to dive into a relationship.
I wonder if he just like got bored of women, because like how do you find that out after 50 entire years of living?
With a guy, figuring it was the next chapter in his book at the time. Fast forward to 1990, he got into a monogamous thing with a mystery male doctor, and that ride ended in 2004. Clive's been pretty upfront about it, saying, I never felt shame. No, I felt puzzled. The subject of bi really needs much more discussion. It's a status that does exist. Legend has it that Clive's now in a solid relationship with another dude, going to events and jet-setting together, but the name is on the down low. Nevertheless, Diddy seems to be the go-to guy for Clive at events, and it's not just a casual run-in. Now, hanging out at the same parties might not be concrete proof, but when you factor in that both Clive and Diddy are openly gay and constantly spotted together.
Yeah, Clive is definitely Diddy's sugar daddy 100%.
It's kind of
100%.
screaming connection. Their tight bond has been a thing for a while, and during this time, Clive's been in a committed relationship with a guy, while Diddy's faced some whispers about being in the closet. Considering all this, the idea that there might be a romantic spark between these two isn't far-fetched. Clive's been pretty open about his sex preference and relationships, but he's not shutting down these rumors, adding some weight to them. And Diddy's keeping mum too, but his actions have raised a few eyebrows too. With everything we know of Diddy now, it's obvious that he learned them from someone. The word is, Diddy sold his soul back in the day to Clive Davis, right there in the office, on his knees, and that Davis molded him into the shady character we know today, teaching him all the dark arts of the industry. But karma's no joke, and Diddy's starting to feel the heat for his actions. Makes you wonder if old Clive might face a reckoning too. Hollywood's got some wild stuff going on behind the scenes. It's pretty insane to think about this never-ending cycle. What do you guys think about this bombshell?
Hey, first thing is first. Do y'all think Clive Davis has sacrificed Whitney Houston? That's the first thing we need to come across. I personally would not be surprised at all if that's the case, because it goes on within the music industry. That's what Kanye West literally admitted to. And now with him and Diddy, Diddy learned from Clive Davis. That's literally just what happened. Clive Davis openly admitted that he does like men. And for what we know, Diddy also does swing that way, because there's no reason that he needs 1,000 bottles of baby oil for only girls. No way in the world. Comment down below your thoughts, because I do read the comments. Smash the like button and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you can catch me. I'll drop another video for you guys. Peace. Love y'all.